everyone, Tim Schofield here, and Samsung just sent over the new Galaxy S23 Plus. The entire S23 series is out now, so no more pre-ordering. They do have a lot of trade-in deals and stuff like that. I can link to those down below if you're still interested in buying one of these devices, but wanted to focus on the S23 Plus because it's a little bit different, sort of bridging the gap between the S23 Plus and the Ultra, which is why in this video I'm going to be comparing these two devices. This will be an abridged unboxing, just quickly show it off and then compare the hardware. But I also, it's a nice day in Chicago, want to do some side-by-side pictures between these two devices so you can get an idea of what to expect out of these camera systems. Anyways, let's get into it. They also sent the lavender color. Excited to get a closer look at it, but let's get in the unboxing of the new Galaxy S23 Plus. Let's begin. This is the Galaxy S23 Plus from Samsung in the new box, using only paper as their packaging, so love to see that. And here is our phone. I'm gonna try to hide that lilac color. Continuing through up top here is all we get in the box aside from the phone. You get your SIM ejection tool, quick start guide, plus a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable. And that is it in the box. Taking this off, there is that new lilac color. I really do like it. It's kind of a nice mix between purple and pink. And here it is next to the S23 Ultra. So obviously with a bit of a size difference and battery difference, there's a 4,700 milliamp hour versus 5,000. But I will say, this got a bump in battery life. So it's a little bit larger battery than the previous S22 Plus. Always very satisfying. Peeling that off the screen. Anyways, let's go ahead and power on this device and take a quick look at the hardware. Comparing the two devices, the S23 Plus has much more rounded corners, a bit more defined on the Ultra. Obviously, the Ultra having that S Pen, so that's another big difference between the devices. But otherwise, fairly similar. Surprisingly, the camera bump is a similar size, at least in how much it actually extends out. S23 Plus is a little bit less, and up towards the top, again, more rounded, more flat, but a little bit more surface area to hold with the S23 Plus, considering it has a flat display. Quick close-up of the two colors, and obviously the camera modules being different. I will snap pictures between these two and actually compare them side by side in just a little bit. Would like to point out, obviously, the S23 Ultra has that new 200 megapixel sensor, whereas the S23 Plus uses a 50 megapixel main sensor. Look at the displays. I want to point out there's about a $300 difference between these two devices, so with all of the differences, it's worth noting, hey, is it really worth that price difference? Now, you do get a 1080p display as opposed to 1440p, so a little bit lower resolution. And also, yes, it does go all the way up to 120 hertz, so it looks really smooth. It is a dynamic refresh rate, but it will go between 48 hertz and 120 hertz, whereas the Ultra goes between 1 hertz and 120 hertz. Is it 1 hertz or 1 hertz? And keep in mind, these two phones have the same processor as a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So when it comes to battery life, I expect excellent battery life out of the S23 Plus. The Ultra has been exceptional. So this will probably compete with that in battery life. I do expect the Ultra to be just a little bit better, but still, S23 Plus will be very good. Now, one thing to make note of is that you only do get 8 gigs of RAM on the S23. You can't bump it up to 12 like you can with the Ultra. Next, let's jump into the camera system and really compare them. I'm going to go around Chicago and test these out. Pictures and video as well. We'll test out the super steady mode, which is on both devices. And of course, zooming in. This has 10x optical. This has 3 times optical. So I expect the zoom to be a big differentiating factor between these phones. So let's get into just a very quick camera comparison between the S23 Ultra and S23 Plus. Both phones can shoot up to 8K 30 frames per second. However, this is a 4K 30 frames test with super steady on. So I'm walking at a normal pace, just kind of panning around and walking fairly quickly. Both did a really good job. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two in good lighting. Just a quick microphone test between the two. I'm gonna look back and forth. Obviously, one's on the left, one's on the right, so we'll see what the difference is. And then I don't have super steady mode turned on, so I'm gonna walk with that. And one nice thing, you can actually flip mid video, which some phones actually can't do, believe it or not. So that's nice to see. So this is super steady mode off.
So keep that in mind. I showed you super steady mode, so now this is me walking at a similar pace, holding the phones at the same angle.
Looking at some comparison shots that I took in good lighting situations, overall, they both do really well. I found the edge detection to be a little bit more consistent on the Ultra, and the color's a little warmer and just a little bit more eye-pleasing. But either way, in good lighting scenarios, you're gonna get great shots out of both of these phones. Where it really matters is when you're zooming in. Even at 3x, 10x, you are just going to get much more detail out of the Ultra, and then obviously anywhere past that is definitely going to give a nod to the Ultra. And low light, I was actually pretty impressed by the S23 Plus in low light. You're going to get a little bit more noise out of some of the shots. However, it still does a very good job capturing the detail. And of course, they both do have night mode, so you can turn those on for those lower light situations. Finally, I'd like to just point out that you do get base storage of 256 gigs on both of these models, but definitely a little bit smaller, a little more comfortable. Honestly, the corner isn't quite as sharp with the S22 Plus, so that's a bit of a difference. Fingerprint scanner has been working very well, so happy to see that. But overall, a solid looking, solid feeling device. Samsung really has done a great job with the S23 lineup of phones. But drop a comment. Let me know what you think, if you prefer the S23 Plus or if it's worth that extra money to pick up the Ultra with that S Pen inclusion, and just the differences between the two. A lot more content coming soon, so be sure to click that subscribe button. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.